Hi everybody, it's Mike Newman. It's Sunday night with ILXCTF. That's me. Hope you had a great weekend. Um, what should we talk about today? That's what I always start this show with. That's how I've started the show the last 10, 11 years, different versions I've had. So this weekend or the next week is like the pathway or the bridge to championship season, because then we go into conference meets and all that. I saw somebody on Twitter last night say, well, we're just about ready to start championship season. Well, we got 2 more weeks. Well, there's going to be a conference meet, the Illini Prairie meet with Monticello and St. Joe Ogden and Tolono Unity. That comes up this week. But championship season starts another week, the middle of the month. That's when the conference meet starts. Then the following week, it's the state series. I'm sure the IHSA uses an official term like state series. Conference meets are part of state series too, aren't they? No, they're not. So we get to talk about cross country today, and that's kind of a cool thing. I had no doubts at the beginning of last week where I was going. Well, I had a little bit. I thought I would be ending up in Terre Haute also with Peoria. Then no, I didn't have to go down there, and it poured. I saw the videos, some of the videos there. It poured like crazy down there for the championship races. We'll talk a little bit about that. We're going to talk a lot about Peoria. And it was one of those things on Thursday night. I saw the forecast. I'm like, oh, it looks like it's going to be rainy. Better bring my rain gear. So I have all my rain gear in the car. I get down there early morning yesterday, and I asked Brian Dumpy, I'm like, are you guys speeding up the schedule? He's like, yeah, we're thinking about it. I have to talk to Geza when he gets down here. Geza showed up. They talked. And they sped the meet up a little bit, 35 minutes from 45 minutes. So it didn't rain. It wanted to. It felt like anxious robins were spitting on me during some of the races, but it was only like little drizzle. The humidity in Peoria was, well, if it was drizzling, it's close to 100%. But it was so, I mean, I'm walking up and down the course, back and forth from the points where I was shooting video, and I was just drenched. Matt Pysinski, who is doing the announcing, I'm going to do my Matt Pysinski. He's like, well, it looks like the course is slow here at Detweiler Park. It could be rainy. No, man, just kidding. It was fast. I mean, the conditions in the mid-70s, humidity out of this world. Talking to the guys afterwards, talking to the runners afterwards, drenched beyond belief. But let's talk about the boys' races first. Alex Partlow. He's one bad. He proved a lot to me, and he proved a lot during track, and how he's a fighter where he goes after it. Look what he did at Shazam last year, where he ran a horrible race, and look what he's done this fall. Wins Trinity Valkyrie at Tom Sawyer Park in Louisville. 15-12, and then he comes to Peoria, where he said afterwards, if you saw his interview, it's like, I don't want to be the drafter anymore. I want to be the driver. I want to be the guy that goes after it. And boy, did he go after it yesterday. 4:39 at the mile. He was about 9:35, I want to say, at 2 miles, and then runs the last mile in 4:48. He only had an 8-second lead on Wilson George, as Wilson afterwards was just shaking his head. Wilson runs a PR at 14:43, and he gets second because Partlow runs a 14:23, 22nd win. And then third place was Dale Johnson of Sterling, 15:12. I'm no notes. I'm going without a net today. So fascinating race. What was also fascinating was watching as the runners are coming in, counting Fenwick runners and the Morton runners. Those two teams are going to be battling in another month at Detweiler. I'm telling you, 77-79 Morton over Fenwick. We got to throw Muhammad Seymour in there too, because they'll be in the hunt. Fenwick's had 4 in the first 16. Their fifth runner was 32nd. Morton had 5 in the top 26, and it was 77-79. So, what can you say about that? 2A is going to be interesting, and you got to keep an eye on St. Francis of Wheaton too. They ran at Lyle yesterday, and they're getting better. Nice little pack, moving their pack back up. I had them ranked number 2 at the beginning of the year, and a few weeks ago, I'm like, I don't know if I figured them out correctly. Well, maybe I did, because they're starting to come back. They're starting to run strong. I don't think they race this week. I don't think a lot of people race this week, unless it's Wednesday or if it's next Monday at Amboy. But Wheaton St. Francis on the boys and girls side won there. They're going to be a team to watch. Girls side in the 1A, 2A race, funny talking to Delaney Fitzgerald of Normal University. She was at the mile, and she said afterwards, she's like, I didn't realize, I've never been in the lead before here. It's like, there's always runners in front of me. She's always running in the big races at Richard Spring or first to the finish. And she's leading, and she won. She ran 17:59, not a PR for her, but she won. The girls race in that division, in the divisions, I thought Dunlop won because they had 5 runners in the first 21. Usually, that will do it for you. And it didn't. There was a tie, 76 points between Chatham Glenwood and Crystal Lake South. Crystal Lake South had 3 in the first 15. Chatham Glenwood had 4 in the first 13. So, but their packs are a little more spread out. They have that power up front. They have to move their 5th runners up a little bit. And Crystal Lake South, I think, had 5 in the first 30 wins it. So on the girls' side, I think we have Latin School. We have Vernon Hills. They didn't run everybody at Niles West. Grays Lake Central did not run their full team for the 2nd week in a row at Antioch. So very interesting to see what's going to happen in the next few weeks in that classification. We get funky, we get down with it in a few weeks. So it's going to be interesting. We're not going to see a lot of changes in the rankings the next 2 weeks. Conference meet is the final rankings day, and that redefines everything, and then we have fun. Boys, 1A, 2A race. We already did that. Duh. Girls, 3A race. No Prospect. And it's not a surprise with Prospect because they've run hard at Fenton. Then they ran against York for 3 straight. Something's beeping. That's so good. So for 3 straight weeks they run against York at Lake Park, then Richard Spring, and then at Palatine. So I didn't see them at the mile. I'm like, I don't see Prospect anymore. And afterwards, talking to Doug Plunkett, the Downers Grove South coach, I found out from Pete Wintermute that they weren't racing this week. They weren't racing their varsity, their top runners. So no surprise. They get ready for their conference meet. Conference meet's going to be, they should win their conference meet. But Downers Grove South, back at full strength, and still the same team that we saw at Fenton. 3 runners up there, 4th and 5th runners farther back. So when it gets into a bigger race, they're gonna have the power up front. They're gonna have 2, maybe 3 all-state runners with Sophia McInerney, who runs 17:13 after being out a month with a foot injury. Way to go, Sophia! And then Holly Johnson 2nd, and then Kelsey Casella was 9th overall. So you have that power up front, but their 4th and 5th runners were farther back. Maine South, they're an up-and-coming team. Boy, are they an up-and-coming team. So I'd keep an eye on them, and we're gonna get a lot of answers this weekend on Naperville Twilight. And speaking of 3A girls, let's hop over to Wheaton North Fulton Classic. They measured it out a few weeks ago, and it was a 3.0 course. Yet Wheaton North used a 2.95 course. Let's get it together. But they used the 2.95 course for a long time. Grace Schlager is going to be running at Naperville on Wednesday, 16:49 for 2.95, and then Allie Nagovitich about 16:54, 16:55. York girls, what can we say? 5 flight winners. They had 6 runners at 18 minutes or faster in that varsity race, and they scored only 10 points. I think that's a meet record. But when you score 10 points and the lowest that you can score is 7 points, that's pretty good. So York looks good, as we know. On the boys 3A race, so I'm like, boy, they're going to go out fast, because Partlow went out in 14:39 and it didn't. So they go by in 4:52, the runners go past. I'm walking across the field and I'm thinking, this is going to get fun. This is going to get real fun, because there are so many quality runners in the field. We had 7 runners in that humidity that ran under 1440. 6 runners under 1440. So Micah Wilson makes a move into the triangle, makes a move coming out of the triangle, and had still like 10 runners. Within the next half mile, there were only 6 runners left, with Micah and Luke Wiley and Ryan Watts and Nick Falk and Marcellus Mines and Tim Newman. Tim Newman is just coming out strong here. So then Falk makes a move. Then Watts makes a move. Then Falk makes a move. Then Wiley makes a move. And then with 300 to go, Falk makes his final move, coming up that incline for the final time. And he runs 14:25 for the win. 14:23 for the win, I'm sorry. So you have 2 runners on the same day that win races at Peoria. I don't think it's ever happened since they divided the divisions in that meet. It used to be a 1-division meet, now 2 divisions, that have run 14:23. I don't think anybody has run the same winning time in a Peoria race, regardless of meet, first to the finish, regardless of division. So Falk, Wiley, Ryan Watts looked really good. You saw in the video last week at Palatine where he was coming in dead man walking, and it ran 14:52, 14:53. The course at Palatine compared to Detweiler is about, I want to say, 10 to 12 seconds slower. So you can see it with Marcellus Mines. He ran 14:40 last week, 14:31, so about 9 seconds. Falk runs 14:42. He runs 14:25, but he was hauling at the end there. But that was a cool race. It was, and then team-wise, Sandberg. They announced their presence in the front, where they had 5 guys in the first 20 in that first mile. But they didn't. The race spread out, but they didn't move. They didn't go forward. Tony was stayed in 7th most of the race. Grant Giblin fell back. But now they have 4 runners that have run under 15 minutes this year. Sandberg does. So are they still the favorite? Yeah, I still think they are. But it's interesting to watch that race, and they know they don't have a 6th man. Tanay ran pretty good. I think he ran a 1 minute PR. I thought 1 minute PRs from race to race only happened from sectionals to state when you're wearing a Bloom uniform in the mid-70s. Oh, I'm not kidding on that. So Sandberg, 3-way tie. Neuqua Valley only ran, somebody asked me, well, Neuqua Valley, shouldn't they be in the tiebreaker too? Well, they didn't have a 6th runner. They only ran 5 runners, and they got 4th overall, but they tied with 109 points with New Trier and Warren Township. New Trier's pack farther back than they want to be, and they need to move up. They're a title contender if they move that pack up. I mean, it was, I think they had an 82-second split on 5, but only a 10-second split from 2 to 6. So they have that pack there. They just have to move it up, and they know what they were talking about that after the race. Warren, first time down here. They haven't run this meet before, and they have 3 runners up there. 4th and 5th runners are back, but they tied, and Warren is going to be good when you have 3 guys that could be three guys that could possibly be all state. They're pretty good. York at Terre Haute. I looked at the times as the results were coming in because I was putting them into athletic.net, and I see Summer at 16:30. I saw the winning time 15:45, and so while I'm looking at the results, I pull up my phone and I check the radar, the current radar in Terre Haute. This big old green blob, yellow blob, red blobs all over Laverne Gibson. So seeing the videos, the finished videos, it was pouring. You see umbrellas all over the place. So I don't know what York's strategy was. But Mike, you're a York guy. You should know that. I didn't know that. I don't ask how they're going to run a race or anything like that. I find out afterwards. But I mean, they had a 36-second split on 5. So Summer, Luca was close to Summer. Schwann was close to Luca. That's nice. Hildy, woo-hoo-hoo! 4th runner. He's been JV, and here he goes. When you realize that you're a senior and your season or your career is almost over in high school, it never happened to me because I put myself in a position where I'm like, I'm going to be out of high school. Maybe I should start really moving. Hildy, 4th runner, and then Lewandowski's having a great year. Is their 5th runner? So interesting to see what's going to happen in 3A boys. Like I said, I still think there are 10, 11, 12 schools that could be trophy contenders in 3A boys. I think there are 5 or 6 girls teams in 3A that are going to go after trophy. York is the big favorite right now, but you never know with Naperville North. They peak at the right time. They know when to peak. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens when we get to the state series. That's what the coaches were going. Boy, it's going to be, it's going to be interesting to see what happens at Twilight, because then you throw Neuqua Valley in with Hinsdale Central and with Downers Grove North and with Waubonsee Valley on the boys' side. On the girls' side, you get to see Minooka run against Naperville North. They raced earlier in the year at first to the finish, so they race again against each other. And then you throw in Downers Grove South. How are they going to compare on the girls' side to those other 2 schools? And then you have other teams in there. Yeah, go ahead. You can use that in your previews. But quote me. I hate plagiarism. Hate it with a passion. So we have that. We don't know if I haven't seen Drew Rogers officially enter for Naperville Twilight. Hersher's school he was invited, but I haven't seen an entry. I checked last night. I haven't seen anything. I'll have to go back and check tonight. And then I may have to send an email on it. So any Hersher coaches or Drew Rogers, let me know if you're running or not. Because Drew ran, it looks like on the times that Lyle ran a tactical race. He ran 15:25 for 5K. That's tactical. But you have Mars of Riverside Brookfield that was chasing after him, and Winkleman of Harvest Christian Academy, who's going to be lights out at state. That's going to be interesting. He's a 1A runner. But then I think everybody's lost the fact that 4 days before that at Furrow Farm, the home course for El Paso Gridley. And there's a film somewhere you can find it. It's on DieStats on Runner Space, where I did a film of the course, and you have 3 creek crossings there. And I made the big mistake of going to film that course after First to the Finish. This was a number of years ago. I was younger then, but I was stupid because my legs were like, how are you going to drive home now? How are you going to put pressure on your legs on the gas pedal? I've been to so many cross-country courses in the state. That by far is the toughest. It is just, there are so many unique things. It's run on a farm, it's run on somebody's farm. But it's hilly. You have the creek crossings. When it really rains, there was one year where it really had rained, and they have a rope on the side of the first hill by the road, and they had to use it to climb up because it was so muddy and people were slipping going back into the creek and everything else. But it's a unique course, and the hills are placed in the right places at the right time, and what can I say? But Rogers runs 1541, 1550, somewhere in there, in the 1550s. If you run under 16 minutes on that course, man oh man, that's incredible. It is a tough course. It's tougher than Veteran Acres. Yeah. It's tougher than Donovan Park. It's tougher than Catherine Legge. It's the toughest course in the state. I would say even tougher than the SIU College course, their old course. Tougher than, I don't know. It's a choice between Delwood Park and Lockport, their old course, when you had to go up Heartbreak Hill, where you needed like 1-inch spikes to climb up that hill, on your hands and on your feet to get up there. Never ran the course in high school, thank goodness. So it'll be interesting to see if Drew Rogers runs in the boys' race at Naperville Twilight on Wednesday. And that's all we're going to talk about today. We talked a lot. We're going to get a chance to speculate on conference meets next week, because there's not really a lot going on. There's we'll talk about Twilight, which will be Wednesday, but we'll start to get into some of the tougher conference meets. It should be fun. And we have conference meets, and then we get into the regionals and those sectional meets. We're going to be fun. I'm going to burp. And then we have state. Get to go back to Detweiler Park again. How cool is that? Glad I made the trip down there. So many. There weren't a ton of people. I saw somebody in the video going, "Oh, there weren't a lot of people there." Glad I didn't go down there to cover it. Guess what? It was worth the trip. It's always worth the trip to see good runners run. And we saw some. We didn't see some good runners run in Peoria. We saw some great runners. So I think that's it. I like doing this without a script. You look at the script and you're going, well, let's get statistical here, and I'll let Roland do the stats. I'll look at the stats later on. So we'll have a preview for Twilight. We'll have the rankings out in the middle of the week before Twilight. We'll have a recap, and then we'll head into the weekend. Not a lot going on. Metamora, Wheeling, Sterling, Belvedere North. Those are the 4 big meets. And then we get into conference time, so it should be kind of cool. So everybody, have a great week, everybody. Hopefully it doesn't rain Wednesday night. It was supposed to rain Saturday. It didn't rain. It rained. It started to rain a little bit when I got closer to home. Get home, park, and it's pouring. I'm like, well, I can wait a few minutes to start working. And it's pouring, and it's pouring. I'm like, well, when do I make a move? I'm going to get soaked one way or the other. And then I could hear it stop raining on my car. And I walked out. I opened the trunk, and it started pouring again. So I got soaked, but c'est la vie. So I will see you at Naperville Twilight. It's going to be a non-concussion meet for me this year. 2 years ago, I was diagnosed with my 4th concussion. It was great, but I fell during the last race of the day. Was throwing up a little bit, and I got up the next morning thinking I didn't have any interviews, and I did a great interview with Caitlin Hart, and I don't remember the interview at all, so that was kind of bad. So not gonna do it. We're gonna be safe, and we're gonna be safe, and we're not gonna fall off the ladder. I've never fallen off the ladder. Cross your fingers. So everybody have a great week. We will see you Wednesday at Naperville Twilight if you choose to come. If not, catch the highlight videos on ILXCTF.com. So everybody have a great week, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.